name is Nicholas, and I am here to talk to you about what I've been doing for the past month. So, what is the stock market? Anybody have any guesses? Anybody know? Has anybody taken a look? I vaguely over the time that I've been here, I'm 29 years old, looked into the stock market, mostly, on retirement and 401ks and compound interest and all of that stuff. So that's mostly what I've invested into the stock market for. So let's say, I started off at first with a bank account, right? And before I even started working, just a bank account, and any money that I would get, I would have either in cash or in that bank account. So I was like someone who was barefoot and walking the wrong direction, right? Because if you save cash and you save it in a bank account, use, a debit card, whatever, that money does not appreciate. It depreciates over time because of inflation. So basically, you're losing money at the end of the day. So if you try to save your money in a bank account, it's pretty much impossible to get anywhere with that unless you're, able to save millions of dollars or something like that, maybe hundreds of thousands a month or something like that because of the rate of inflation and the rate of depreciation. So whenever I started working a job back, this was before I joined the Air Force later on, I was, you know, maybe I had some shoes on instead of just walking barefoot, but I was still walking in the wrong direction because I didn't have anything in the market. So whenever I got into the Air Force, I finally opened up my first retirement account, and since then, I've been headed walking in the right direction, and because of the boost in salary, let's say in a very nice pair of shoes or something like that. And now my understanding of the stock market is to the level of, let's say, getting on a commercial airliner and flying somewhere because of the ratio of growth that I've been able to experience doing what I do now, which is called covered calls. So I sell covered calls on um, different stocks that I own. And, for those of you all who have been looking for where the money is, like where is the money at in this world? Is it in business or working for myself? Is it, do the celebrities all have it? Like, is it in fame? Is it being a creator somewhere? Like, is it at my 9 to 5 and I've just been tripping? Maybe I just need to refresh my resume and go somewhere else and maybe try to find the next job. But it's in the stock market. I mean, you have a decent amount in real estate. So one of the things that I was thinking about before I went to stocks was to buy lower priced houses around America in different states, mostly states where I can get them for cheaper, maybe under $200,000, and kind of rent those out, But the amount of work that would have had to go into maintaining those houses, especially out of state, and relying on project managers and learning all the paperwork, it's just that there's a lot behind real estate. And something that I, obviously noticed with investing, through time as I've been working jobs is that it hasn't been that much of a headache to put something into a 401k and or pull something from a 401k in the past. And so other of you all may know, just looking for looking through my channel, or if you've been here before and you've been around, that I started a business personally. Well, after 12 months of running that online based business, which means I had no inventory, I had no, overhead costs like a storefront. I made negative maybe $600 or so after 12 months. Negative $600. Why do I say that? I made like $250 one time, but I had to pay for everything to get the business started, plus a few things here and there to actually operate the business to the point to where I had gotten it to whenever I made that 200 and whatever dollars. But I've been able to basically replace my past working income within the first month of me in stocks. So, okay, I mentioned covered calls, and that is what I do. So, what is that? What do I mean by selling covered calls in the stocks that I own? So, there's an entire market out here. I think there's maybe 100 million or so trades done on the options market every day, at least if the stock market is open, maybe even days that it's not, like on the weekends, for 24-hour markets at least. But there's a whole nother side to stocks other than just there is a company. We're going to use Apple because everybody understands and knows Apple. This is being shot on an Apple product. I have another Apple product right here, right next to me. So if you have a stock of Apple, most people understand that if the stock goes up from where you bought it from, you can sell it for a profit. And if you do that within a day, so you wait for whatever stocks to move within a certain few hours or so, within one day, you're a day trader. If you wait longer than a day, then normally you'd be considered maybe like a swing trader. And that would kind of be more along the path, somewhat, of what selling covered calls is. But there's stocks, they go up, they go down, you normally buy them, but then there's an options market. And so in the options market, and what is an option? Just the ability to be able to buy, um, if you would like to, or be able to do whatever if you would like to. You understand what options are, but you may not understand them in the context of stocks. So when it comes to options, the first breakdown is that you can buy and you can sell options. Now, I sell options, as I mentioned earlier. And on the sell side, you're like the casino, and the people who are buying the options from you, because I'm selling the options, are gamblers who come to your casino to sit down and take a chance at buying the stock that you already own in your possession for the money that they put up, the premium. And so the premium, in the place of someone who has been an employee, which is going to be most of the people on the other side of this video, and where I was just at a month ago, you get paid normally at the end of the week, and maybe every 2 weeks, but let's say for people who've been paid once a week, you get paid on Friday. Well, doing this strategy, you can sell options on Fridays as well, but I do it on a Monday. So I would sell my option, which I would go to Robinhood, open up the app, and I'll kind of go more into depth on the technicals of actually doing it. But on Monday, I would go in, sell the options, the premium. Again, I'm the casino. The premium is the people who are trying to buy my stock. I collect that. That is in place of my 9 to 5 check that I used to get. And it is every week. So I'll add this, and I'll probably go in a little bit further later on. But there's a reason why I do this strategy, and it's because it's extremely risk adverse. So I'm thinking of like I don't want to lose all my money, obviously. I don't think any of you guys want to either. So I take a look at what companies I'm looking at, their market caps, how have they been doing recently in time, and you can view a lot of these things on some of their charts. Not saying that I have to actually look at charts day to day because I look at zero charts while I'm doing this stuff. Zero. I don't do any of that stuff. I know a few terms here and there, head and shoulders, and these other different candles, and all of these things that you can use to try and predict what's going to happen. But I think that of that is like, you know, astrology or some woo woo science out here. Like, I don't look at trading as being something that you can be long term profitable at. Usually, there are some that make it through, just like there are some gamblers that make a lot of money. But I'm not a gambler. So, you look at the company to make sure it's stable. That's why we're using an example of like an Apple. And you just do this every week. And if you get a sign, like, so let's say that a sign would be if someone, you choose strike prices whenever you're, like I said, on Robinhood to where you think that the stock may end up. So let's say Apple is at 180 and you think maybe it could possibly go to 120 within this week time period. Well, then you would, you know, choose 200 that would pay you a certain amount that day, and it would just land in your account, and then you just go on about your day. And another key thing to this is basically what I just said. So you may not have used Robinhood, but you generally understand that Robinhood is an app, and go into any app. Like, you can move through it very quickly. Most people's full work schedule isn't on an app for like 8 hours a day or something like that. So, if you have ever heard of the book The 4 Hour Work Week, I didn't read that book, but I understand the concept of it. You know, shortening, doing something that could make your work week only 4 hours, and that would sound, you know, insanely good because that would be 10 hours, or it would be 10 times less the amount that most people have to work, which is 40 hours a week. Which honestly, who knows what most people are doing? Most people maybe right around 45 or 50 hours a week. I usually worked around 40. But what I'm talking about can be done in less than 30 minutes. It could be done in less than 5 minutes because you're literally just going to the stocks that you own, pressing a few buttons, and then you put your phone down and then you go back to whatever you were doing for the rest of the day and for the rest of the week. And then you just do it all over again on Monday. And so I'm not some genius. Like, I just kind of put these things together. This would cost more than the buy side. So you can, on the buy side, you can come in with $500 and you may be able to walk away with like $2,000. On this side, you are the $2,000 and someone is giving you 500, right? So you have to come in with a little bit more capital. I would say to start with stock options, you maybe, it's according to the company, but like let's say Wolf or Wolf Incorporated, whatever. I think ticker is WOLF. They, I think, are right around $4 or so. Ford is usually under $10. It's probably a little bit above $10 right now. NIO is another company that is under $10. And that, I mean, for right now, I guess that would be good enough. But you could always just research companies under $10. But You'd also have to make sure that you could sell options on those specific stocks. So you could always just go to them, like I said, in Robinhood. Just download the app. You don't have to pay for anything to download it at the first, at least. Um, and you can start looking at these things because what I'm talking about, you don't necessarily need to believe me or anything. Like, I don't care. You could just look. Like, you could just open your phone to Robinhood, oh, options. And then when you go on the list and start to understand what strike prices are, that the price that's normally like in the middle is where the current price is at, and then the stock may go up higher. It could go lower, and that would be a whole other side of this equation of things that I'm going to talk about. But you'll be able to calculate basically before you ever press the buttons, maybe months before you're ready to actually put money into the account, what it would be that you'd be getting. It's that simple. Like, I just went from stop looking at that and the premiums that I could be getting, and then I just put my money where my mouth was, and or I guess where my thoughts were at least, and actually started making the premiums weekly. And the part that I didn't calculate that would make the amount so much is the appreciation that happens with the stocks. So I was mostly calculating out the premiums to see about how much I would get per week. But the appreciation that comes, especially if you get assigned, which you're going to eventually get assigned, and you'll start to learn about deltas. Maybe if you look at another video, I might not go too deeply into deltas here for your strike prices, but it's very interesting doing it. And so for those who are more veteran here, I kind of wanted to show that I have more of a grasp of what this concept is, and the overall options market real quick. So there's the buy and the sell side for options, and for let's go for the sell side for options. You can do calls and you can do puts. And so I'm focused on selling covered calls, which is what I do weekly, but I could also do the same, kind of the reverse of that, which would be considered puts. So puts, whenever you look at their there's a name for the list of strikes that give you how much premium you're going to get and where your calls are at. But either way, so when you look at that for calls, right, as you go up, the premium goes up. For puts, as you go down, the premium goes up. So for put, you're trying to stay below how far the stock drops. Because if the stock drops further than where your put was at, then you're assigned the put at a higher price when you could have been buying the stock at the lower price where it actually fell at in reality. And then the same for covered calls. But in reverse, obviously. And then there's that side of the market. Of course, I know about leverage strategies like condors. I know about the wheel strategy using puts to buy, so basically being in cash. Let's say you start in cash, you put out a bunch of puts on stocks that you would like to own and use for covered calls. You get assigned those puts, which means you're assigned those stock. And then once you get assigned those, you start selling covered calls on top of it. But just to be more beginner friendly on like, how do you operate the stock market? Like, what is this? What's the important, like, why has this thing been around on TV all these years? And how do I use it? Like, again, the question, where is the money at? Because I didn't know. I thought it was at my 9 to 5. That's untrue. Like back pain and stress and people being annoying and me not want to be around my coworkers, that was at my 9 to 5. Um, I had peace here, you know, chilling at home. Um, and that's what this has allowed me to do by connecting to the money pretty much almost directly through stock options, um, without any work. Like it sounds too good to be true, you know, and that's kind of why I'm making this video because it sounds too good to be true. I wish that I had known this earlier, obviously, because if I had known this earlier, like, so let's say I was 18 right now, right? And I found this video. I came across this video because this guy was willing to just give me the secret. I'm not even like, I'm pretty much just giving, I'll pretty much just put it all in this video. Like, I'm not, you know, whatever. Um, but if I was 18, meaning I have access now to my credit personally to be able to start using, I would have built my credit while working some menial job or whatever. Um, and maybe after a year or two, got it high enough to where I could take out a personal loan that I could put into stocks. Or, you know, at the same time at 18, maybe start an LLC so that you could use the business loan associated with the LLC to put into stocks. And obviously learned as much as I possibly could in and around this time period to get an understanding of what stocks options is, which I mean, it took me maybe 3 months, but I also had a bunch of back knowledge just generally on stocks and stuff. But you really don't need a lot of understanding. Um, Once you get down the gist of like just finding a halfway decent company, sticking to making sure that you do this every week, because now you're like your HR person who's sending you your check, like you have to do that now, and then you know not basically reinvesting so it kind of grows over time so that you know you're not locked in at a ceiling of salary now, like it goes up every month, which again sounds too good to be true. But yeah, I do that. I just have done this, I guess. But because I didn't know, I've been working since I was 14, and now I'm 29. So I've been working for over half my life at this point. Um, and I didn't need to. Like, you don't need to work hard. You don't even need to work hard for yourself. Like, if you like, instead of like working hard for yourself, just don't work hard. Instead of working hard for someone else, if you are at a 9 to 5, just leave. Just don't work hard. Or you don't have, I mean, you can, obviously, you should set yourself up. You should get your account started. And this is what I was going to talk about with Robinhood. You need a level 3 trading, um, options trading account for Robinhood. So you download the app, um, for Robinhood. You get on YouTube and figure out how to get your account to level 3. It doesn't cost any money or anything like that. It's just you have to just know which buttons to press basically. So I'm not gonna like go through, but I found great videos on how to get your trading account to level 3. Um, you know, maybe before you do all of this, you fix your credit so that you don't have to sit around talking about I'm going to save the money to put into the account. Like you can get a little bit of whatever you have sitting around and throw it in there just to get a gist of whatever it is that you're doing. But yeah, um, do that. And I'm saying that just so that you don't have to like, you know, like do something drastic to get money. Like it's, just get your credit squared away and then put that in there and then start receiving money. Um, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. It's insane. Like I've been doing this, like I said, over a month at this point, and it's still like crazy. Like I don't know if this is ever gonna wear off. Like, cause I've been doing this for too long, and I've been with too many other people for too long, around everybody in my life who has worked a job and like worked hard and stuff. Like that's all I've been taught. Like fill out a resume, uh, do your taxes for your job, which I will still continue to do my taxes, obviously. But even that part, which is insane, like I get text less than you do. I'm pretty sure the person watching this video right now works a 9 to 5. If you get a W-2, you get taxed more than I do as an investor doing stocks, doing nothing. I mean, obviously, like me being retired now, I'll have to try and figure out at 29 what people normally have to figure out at 65, like what to do with the rest of their lives. Um, which is a big, that is a big, thing. But is it a bigger thing to hate every single day waking up, driving to work, like you guys said you don't even have to like you go look at my videos. I used to make my videos in the car on the way to work or coming from work. Like that was literally me just 1 month ago. Like that's also kind of why I wanted to make this freaking video, cuz like this is like recent, like because I need this for me in the future to know where I was at this time, because like a year from now I don't even know, you know things are going to be drastically different, because like I said, reinvesting is very important, and not just like, pulling everything from your trading account so that it kind of builds over time. But yeah, it's almost like um like life is a game, and like knowledge is like the tokens that you um can have. Like if you get anything from this video and then you just take it on your own and just go research it, and most of you guys just throw it in the chat GPT. Matter of fact, you don't even have to try to waste your time trying to remember what I said on the video. Just take the transcript, throw it in the chat GPT, ask it to give you a summary of what it was that I was talking about, and just like go from there. But you must take the knowledge that's in this video, covered calls, the stock market, the options market, the sell side, not the buy side. I don't want a bunch of gamblers added to all the freaking DraftKings and sports bet, and I don't want to be adding more people to that. We are investors here. So take this info, look it up, do something about it. Take this info, download Robinhood to your phone, and then do something with that. Level 3 trading, get it now. like, it's person, so for me, it's reparations. Um, Maybe Native Americans can kind of look at it as like the same from America. I guess whoever else can kind of look at it like whatever way that this can kind of stick in your brain that this thing works, because like let's go through this again real quick. Let me show you what I showed you. I mean, I don't have any receipts here. Like this isn't like a mansion. This is month one, but like I said, I even went higher than the last salary, and you can look at my salary videos on my channel. It's like my most viewed video. Um, I make more doing nothing. I make more than I did whenever I was trying to make all of these videos for YouTube, which is kind of why I've slowed down because I don't need to. Like, this is my new YouTube. The YouTube was really just like YouTube for me, and this is most creators, is us trying to get away from something we don't like, which is our 9 to 5 or whatever else that we're trying to do to make money, and do something easier that maybe more aligns with us to try and make some money. Anybody who's done it at a higher level knows that you don't make much money from just YouTube. Like, I have made zero money from YouTube. I've tried to do paid or sponsorships or whatever, as well as, just build a channel, but also through my business. So 12 months of that, negative $600. The very first month replaced my entire salary from my job. Like, and it, like I didn't have to buy, that's the other part. I didn't have to buy a house either. Like, because normally where you would hear this sort of spiel or whatever would be someone trying to sell you that maybe buying and holding real estate would be, the key to some sort of passiveness of income. But there's not a lot passive with real estate unless you're, I don't know, you'd have to have a massive team like to answer all the calls from the project managers. So, there's situations that I've heard from, like let's say a tenant falling in some building or something like that, and then the owner of the property being sued. Like, it's just nonsense that you're not gonna like just have per se upfront knowledge for you. So there's a hassle factor. There's the fact that you can make way more with way less. I want you to think about another thing that you probably weren't just thinking about. Liquidity. What does liquidity mean? It takes a while to buy a house. It takes a while to sell a house. It takes a second to buy a stock. It takes a second to sell a stock. Like, you see how those don't equate. And then also generally the stock market appreciates faster than real estate anyways. Like, even just, like the S&P 500, like all the companies, not just one, a few. If you hand picked some specific stocks and hope that those ones like blew up on you now, like the entire stock market appreciates faster, usually like 10 to 12% versus like 6 to 8% for real estate or something like that, unless you get a very specific case in a very specific area. But I'm trying to see. I'm not going to give you the specific stocks that I invest in. Apple was just an example on this video. NIO was just an example. Ford was just an example. Well, I might have like $1 of Ford. Like, it was like Ford, you can put its dividends on reinvesting into itself. So I think I have some like reinvested credit or something from whenever I sold Ford a while ago. But it's because I don't want you to go out and get the same stocks that I'm in, and then they crash, and then you're like, oh, well, I saw this video, and this guy was like, you should get this stuff, and blah blah blah, and you know, I'll put this in there. I am not a financial advisor. Um, I just figured it out. Like, I was somewhat scared at first because I was like, what is all of this stuff? So that point was maybe like 2 or 3 months ago that I was kind of like, because that was like whenever I was first kind of switching over into this thought train. And maybe 6 months ago was real estate. So 6 months ago to 3 months ago, real estate thinking and trying to figure that out and figuring out like, holy crap, this is way more than I bargained for. Luckily, I didn't get into anything. Like, I didn't buy any properties anywhere, so I did all the due diligence up front to get myself as close as possible, to include talking to agents on the phone, going around trying to figure out what the inspections would be, like it all, so I would have a full grasp on how complicated this is. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave that there. Now, stocks. Past 3 months, you know, about, I'd say there's some overlap period of where I was learning a lot. So maybe 3 months of learning for the stock stuff, and then a month of doing it. And yeah, like, this isn't month 6 when what it was that I was doing replaced my income in scale and scope. Like, it wasn't month 3, it was month 2. This first month has replaced the income that I was just making. So I left. Like, so yeah. Um, I guess, hopefully, um, I want to get into the phase that I've heard from many people who have been successful, to where I'm scared to lose it all. Um, just because, like, I would rather be in that position versus, um, not able to lose anything, basically, because I don't have anything to start with. But yeah, I mean, it is consistent. I've been able to see from week to week, um, if not just slightly on the growing larger side of consistently, not like going down. Um, Again, the risk to this strategy being that you choose a crappy stock, and the crappy stock takes a nosedive to the ground, and you have money in that stock, um, and then it crashes. So that's why I try to stick with stocks that have a market cap of at least $1 billion. So if that's what you want to do that. Make sure it has at least $1 billion in market cap, and then you can also sell cover calls on it. I like to do it, like I said, weekly. Some people have said monthly. I like to I like to do it weekly. Um, yeah, I think that you can do it. Not like, I think I know that you can do it. Whoever this is, like, I'm pretty sure this could be taught to someone, at the age of 10 or so. Um, because it's not complicated. It is just an app, and it involves no work. Um, I think it's easier than like laying a brick wall, because I've laid a brick wall before. Like, I've mixed mortar, and I put it on some CMU blocks, and it sucked, and the sun and flies and stuff like that. Like, if you can file your taxes, if you can fill out an application for a job, if you can make it through a job interview, then you can sell stock options. Which by default means that if you're watching this video, you can sell stock options. So, yeah, um, kind of strange. Like, the biggest secret, I feel like I've found like a new city on Earth or something like that. Like, you don't have to work to make money. You don't have to do anything except for own a cell phone that has service, and you can make more than whatever you've been making from your job every week, and it'll go up over time. Um, you just need to get started. So yeah, you got it. You got the gist. Like, I just keep thinking if there's any more that I can put in here to try and convince you or help you understand or um, make you get it more. But there are tons of resources on the internet. I've said what it is that I do and I'm doing to have gotten to where I am already a bunch of times. So you get it, you understand what it is that I'm saying. So I guess you just got to do it. So maybe uh, join me in retiring in your 20s, um, or not. I know I don't want to work till I die. And as savage as that sounds, most people in my generation are either going to work until they die or they're going to work until they're 80. Um, and most believe that they'll work until they're 65, but most don't realize within that 5 year time period from 65 to 70 that they'll realize that they need to go back to work, and then they'll be 80. Um, and so I saw that and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Um, I've also been fired in the past. Um, and like the only person that could fire me now is like if the stock market like exploded or something. Like a nuclear strike on America or something like that on like this Wall Street. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that there's backups for everything everywhere in the world anyways or whatever underground. So I don't think the stock market like the stock market isn't racist. The stock market isn't ageist. It's not sexist. It's not like I'm okay. Maybe the stock market is corrupt, but it'll pay you whatever you did. Like, so if you screwed up, then hey, that's your L. That's why I don't trade because I don't want any screw ups. I don't look at charts because again, I don't want any screw ups. The only thing I do is make sure the company looks good. But the stock market, uh, it doesn't tell me when I can go to eat lunch. The stock market doesn't tell me when I can like go on vacation. Um, the stock market isn't location dependent. So yeah, not only does it not tell you that you can go on vacation, but it also doesn't like you can just go in. You as long as you got your phone, then you good. So if you're in France or in California or Texas or Dubai, who cares? Because you can just do it anyways. The stock market don't tell you nothing, bruh, at all. Come and go as you please. Do what you want to do. The government will tell you if you owe any taxes. they will. They will let you know. You specifically, sir, with your social. like, they will not mess that up. So, yeah, bro. And you get taxed less than when you was employed. Like, and the other part about this for people who can look at this from a business mindset, anyone who's had to think about going beyond themselves in business and not just operating themselves solely, so having an employee or whatever, you understand scale and scaling your labor efforts to get a lot done. That's all Apple does. They just got a bunch of people. Now they got AI thrown in there too. But to kind of scale the efforts of the person who started Apple in the first place. So, um, with stock options in this, you could look at this as a business. You could put, your portfolio into an LLC. Your workers are real, but now, you're buying your Apple stock because you're part owner of Apple now. That's what I'm saying. Your workers are real, so they are actually at the company putting in the time and effort that you would have had to doing this. By yourself as an employee, obviously. But you can buy another share. You can keep buying shares of this company or any other company and just keep adding them to the pot to make the company larger. Like, you don't have to think of expansion. You don't have to think, oh, we need to move into the Nevada territory to be able to take up more customers there. You don't have to think about signing more clients. You don't have to think about this next marketing campaign. Like, you can just think about the next company to buy. And if you don't want to do that, you can just think about how many more shares of the same companies that you want to buy. Like, it's scalable in a crazy fashion. And again, these premiums are much less than anything that I could see in any other capacity as a um, passive sort of income. Like, the ratio, like, you buy at least here, let's say here in Arizona. I mean, if I was to tell you the real numbers, it'd probably scare you because you buy like a $400,000 to $500,000 house, right? And the mortgage on that $400,000 to $500,000 house is somewhere around $3,000. It may be 28, maybe 3,000. All you can ask for rent out here is like as upwards of like 2,500, and realistically maybe 22. So 22 to 25. So technically, you're losing money every month on that rental here in Arizona, at least. So you spend, in my case, I have a VA loan, so I don't have to put any down payment. But let's say somebody that did, you spend $200,000 for this $500,000 house, and you're, which you get back from spending that $200,000 that you put on that down payment. Or let's say it was $100,000 for the down payment. So $100,000 cash, and you get negative $800 every month. Put 100 up, you get negative 800. You can put let's just use Ford for example. If you were to put 50 into Ford, you maybe get, you know, $2,000 a month or something like that. Um, but actually, you probably if you put 25 into Ford, you probably get around $2,000 a month. You put 50, you maybe be closer to like $4 or $5,000 a month. But you see the drastic difference in selling covered calls and buying a house. No, see how that wouldn't like it almost wouldn't make sense for you to buy a house instead of doing stock options unless you just wanted to live in it. But obviously, we're talking about investment in this situation, investment property versus investing in the stocks. Um, and maybe even for some of you, you guys just hit the holy grail because if you already have stocks that you're just sitting around, um, and you were like, oh well, I guess I'm just gonna keep waiting for these things to go up. Well, while they're sitting there waiting, just sell stock options on them and make money. Like, make money every week. Uh, yeah, like, and here's the other thing too. Um, so I get a check from the military. This came from like health benefits and whatnot. Um, but I was still working as I was still getting that check from the VA. So if this could be your extra money, like this could be your raise that you've been asking your boss for or whatever. Um, it could at least pay for your car note and like let's say your mortgage or maybe your car note and your cell phone bill if you wanted to go a little bit lower or something like that. But it's crazy. I guess one little last thing, history. Uh, the options market was birthed, I think, in 1973. It wasn't until like maybe the maybe like mid to late 1980s that things were kind of like finalized on. They had all of the similar pieces, maybe like mid 90s actually, for everything to be the same as it is kind of now. You know, obviously now we have the app, which is makes this so simple. We're not actually having to call the floor of Wall Street to try and get our stuff exchanged or whatever. But this has been here for a while. Um, but I guess if you weren't going to work for like J.P. Morgan or Goldman Sachs, you probably just wouldn't have learned this stuff. Like, you're not an investment banker. You're not like running a hedge fund, which is basically what this is. It's protecting your assets and capital. Um, Hedge funds just protect others, people's stuff, but if you take out a loan, which is other people's money, and then you put that into stocks, then you're operating like a hedge fund operates. And, you know, like, the only thing that separates you from a rich person, or at least from what I've seen and found, is just knowledge. Like, they just got something different in their brain that they understand as their truth. Like, I understood that hard work got you where you needed to be before. Now I understand differently. Like, I understood that you needed to work a job before. Now I understand that the rich don't work a job. Like, why? Maybe actors, but the wealthy usually don't work jobs. And the reason why I make a difference is because, I mean, most people get it, But if you don't know what to do with the money as it comes in, it just flows through and flows away. Like if you don't understand that you actually have to capture some of it in a way that doesn't depreciate like your bank account or like cash would, and you have to capture it in a vehicle that moves forward as inflation goes up, like that capturing of some of this stuff, you know, that's what moves things forward. That's why you can have an NBA player who is broke by the time that they would get close to retirement, and then a teacher, clear disparity from the teacher and the basketball player and salary wise, way up here on this end, way down here on this end, but they you see, change places. So now there's a lot of teachers that understand the principles of investing and have an early age, a long time to invest for. Where the NBA stars have all the money in the beginning, but don't know what to do with it, and does none of it sustain. So therefore, it all drifts away. Um, yeah. Um, you know, hopefully I've given enough. Um, I tried to throw it all in. The stock market is where the money's at. It's not in drugs. It's not in cars. It's not in like prostitution. It's not in. It's not in like the ground. Like it's in the markets. Like it's in the markets. Go there. That's your employer now. Because the other part of this is that like the reason why we all run around looking, or why I was just doing that, you know, I'm included here. Um, the reason why we run around looking for employers is because we're looking for capital bases. So, you know, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, or Meta, everybody, they have very large market caps, as we were discussing earlier for these companies. And so when most people don't, you know, like if you have less than $1 million, you know, in comparison, the company has billions of dollars. They can do things for you, get you know, have you go places, do things a little bit here and there at least. And so we see excitement with that, but what we don't understand is that someone just built a capital base. Like Elon Musk isn't 60, and he has more money than a lot of companies. Um, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but MJ DeMarco, the Fast Lane. If you've seen his YouTube videos, they go back like over a decade. They're kind of grainy and whatever, but he gets the gist down that like this is a race. Like this, and why I mentioned earlier, you know, walking without shoes, walking with shoes, and then basically skipping class, getting into a car, and basically taking a jet to where you want to go this way because there's no input on my need or on my side for the most part or work needed because I've worked jobs, I've been in the military, I know what real work is, and then this is nothing. I just press buttons on my phone, so this is a game to me. Um, but it's fast too. It's faster than the income that I was getting from my employer, and that's the first month. So again, like month 12, what does that look like? But in the fast lane, he talks about like no one ever got rich slowly. what everybody says. But he's like, yeah, you can't get rich slowly. Like, um, I kind of give a give and take there, but for instance, most millionaires are like in their fifties, later in their fifties. Um, I would assume that this comes from consistently investing into retirement over a long time, kind of the same thing that Dave Ramsey constantly spits out. But I understand that accumulating wealth extremely quickly early on gives you this massive advantage that you can leverage and compound over time. And to get to the point of rich, trying to do it slowly, it's tough, I guess. Um, but I've given myself some leeway there because there's risk on the other side. The fastest way would probably be buying those stock options that I was talking about that I don't do and that I don't gamble on. But that would also be the fastest way to lose all your money too. And most people do lose all their money, which is why um, I stick to the sell side. So yeah, um, yeah, I tried to put it all in there. So um, check it out. Go back through this video a few times. Try and capture stuff. Write it down if you need to. Um, I'll probably make more videos as time goes on just to like, key you guys in on this like treasure island that I found out in the middle of the Caribbean, pretty much. With it's just a massive opportunity. The only issue is that most of the people that are my age are gambling only on the buy side. And they don't understand that there's another side to where they don't just crash and burn their accounts constantly. Um, yeah, yeah. But nice talk. Catch you later.